Draft week is officially upon us, as the main event is just a few short days away. Teams are gearing up for all sorts of scenarios playing out, with the teams picking at the top of the order hoping to land the kind of talent that can change the course of their franchise's future, and even a few of the other teams are scheming up ways to possibly trade up to land a top talent this year. With all of the buzz and excitement happening with these guys, we can all get lost in the good that they bring while turning a blind eye to the things that can hold them back, and that's what I'm here to focus on in today's video. Today we'll be going through the top prospects in this draft class, identifying the biggest weaknesses in their games to keep an eye on moving forward, as these are the things that could be what holds them back from reaching their full potential. Before we start though, it turns out a good amount of you watching aren't even subscribed to the channel, so if you enjoy the content, consider hitting the subscribe button, as not only does it help out a ton, but I'd also very much appreciate it. Now with that being said, let's begin. We'll start things off with the top prospect this year, Victor Wembanyama, and the biggest issue going into the draft for him is his lack of strength. Wembanyama embodies the term unicorn to the fullest degree as a 7'5", agile, shot-creating, rim-protecting player that can play as either a forward or a center, and he's definitely going to create a ton of mismatches for opposing defenders, but simultaneously, his scrawny frame will allow some of the stronger big men in the league to have their way with him. Because of the fact that he's so tall, he has a high center of gravity, which then means that dudes with a little bit of bulk to them who can get low can push back and create space for themselves around the basket against him. He saw this happen against himself while defending Kenneth Lofton on Team USA, and obviously the NBA has players more talented while equally strong as Lofton at the next level. Wembanyama does have outstanding overall defensive instincts, and he recovers very well when he does get beat, and he rotates well off the ball too, but he's definitely going to need to work on adding more muscle over time in order to be able to put it all together. The next prospect up is Scoot Henderson, and his biggest issue going into the draft is his three-point shooting. Henderson can put pressure on defenses in so many different ways, but the one way defenses in the G League were consistently able to neutralize him was when they allowed him to pull up from deep. Overall shooting isn't even his weakness. That's why I specified three-point shooting, because Henderson is actually a very good mid-range shooter who very comfortably attacks off the dribble and then pulls up for a jumper inside the arc. However, he shot just 28% from three this past season in the G League, taking about 3 attempts from there per game, which isn't necessarily that much volume, so what that tells me is that he doesn't quite trust himself from range yet. When you're a lead guard who attacks the basket and finishes as well as he does, teams at the NBA level will do whatever is necessary to try to limit your ability to do that, and one way is by backing off, daring guys like him to shoot the ball. We've seen it done to Russell Westbrook, Ben Simmons, and countless others, so Henderson will need to work on his stroke from three for sure. The next prospect up is Brandon Miller, and his biggest weakness going into the draft is his interior scoring. Brandon Miller is a wing player who defends hard and shoots the ball very well from deep. That's a skill set that will land you a job in the NBA for a long time. However, when reading through player comparisons for him, I've seen him compared to Paul George quite a bit, and I just can't agree with that, because George is an incredibly reliable shot creator off the dribble, and I just don't think Miller is there right now. Last season in college, Miller took just 14% of his shots at the rim, which for the easiest look in basketball is glaringly low. He also made a woeful 39% of his shots at the rim, which when you watch him play, you notice that he does struggle to beat his man off the dribble in half-court settings, and that he doesn't have the greatest touch around the basket. I think his floor as a prospect is very high because of what he's good at, but if he can't create much for himself, then his ceiling is also much lower than others in this class too. The next prospect up is Emon Thompson, and his biggest issue going into the draft is that he's very turnover prone. Thompson has very good court vision and a knack for setting up his teammates for open looks, which should result in him being a very good playmaker at the next level, but at the same time, he can sometimes try to do too much with the ball and force passes into situations trying to make a big play when the look just isn't there, which results in him turning the ball over quite a bit. He committed 3.2 turnovers per game in the Overtime Elite League, and on a per 36-minute basis, that number jumps up to 4.1 per game, which would rank nearly dead last amongst NBA ranks last season. This may be an issue that takes a few years for him to work through because he also wasn't necessarily playing against very tough competition these past few years, and the learning curve at the NBA level for a turnover-prone point guard can be rough. The next prospect up is Asar Thompson, and his biggest weakness going into the draft is his perimeter shooting. Like Henderson, Asar struggles shooting the ball from deep, but unlike Henderson, it's not just the three-point arc that creates some cause for concern. Asar is another otherworldly athlete who creates problems for anyone defending him because he's very good at getting to the rim and finishing strong, but he has a wonky jumper form-wise that brings very hit-or-miss results. Typically, when you look at whether someone has shooting upside, free throw percentage can be a good indicator of it, and the fact that Asar also shot in the mid-60s percentage-wise from the free throw line doesn't exactly help his case. The next prospect up is Cam Whitmore, and his biggest issue going into the draft is his shot selection. Whitmore is a very powerful and functional athlete who uses his strong frame to bully weaker wing defenders on the way to getting to the rim, and while he is a streaky shooter, he has shown improvements there over time. However, one of his biggest issues is the fact that he settles for bad looks far too often when better opportunities present themselves. This includes pulling up for contested jumpers when an extra pass can be made, settling for perimeter shots when there's a driving lane, and getting tunnel vision trying to score the ball through traffic. His poor shot selection definitely contributed to his errant shooting percentages, and if he can improve on his willingness to pass the ball and make the right play, then the rest of his physical tools will help make him even better. And finally, the last prospect we'll be discussing today is Jairus Walker, and his biggest weakness going into the draft is his decision making. Jairus Walker is such an intriguing prospect because he's shown off the potential to be a jack-of-all-trades type of forward who can give you a bit of everything offensively and defensively, but while he has flashes of greatness that are tantalizing, he's still pretty raw overall. He does a good job passing the ball as a forward, but he too sometimes tries to do a bit much, forcing passes into closing windows, resulting in turnovers. He also has a tendency to drive into traffic and then lose the ball because his handle isn't really the strongest right now. When he puts it all together, he can be the glue that holds any lineup together, but he needs to continue to work on making the right plays without forcing things. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below what you're concerned about with these prospects. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.